And so, friends, notice the difference here. You have this, on the one hand, you have this holier-than-thou Pharisee who refuses to show any sign of respect to Jesus, and then you have this quote-unquote sinner, this woman of the streets, and she does all three things to show respect for Jesus. Now, as the woman is doing all these things for Jesus, guess who is watching her and judging her? The Pharisee, right? Take a look at this next part. Let's read this together. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner." In other words, the Pharisee is saying, hey, if Jesus were the kind of religious leader like I am, he would know that he should not be associating with this obviously sinful woman. I mean, doesn't he know who she is? Doesn't he know what she's done? Now, friends, let me ask you, in this case, is the Pharisee loving the sinner and hating the sin? No, right? In his mind, because she's done X, Y, Z, he wants nothing to do with her. In other words, he cannot separate the sinner from her sin. And so notice, according to the law of the Pharisee, he should be leading with love here. But what is he actually doing? He's leading with judgment. And friends, this leads Jesus to say this in response in verse 40. Jesus answered him, "Simon, I have something to tell you." Now, friends, let me ask you, if Jesus calls you by your first name and tells you that he has something to tell you, how do you think that's going to go? Not well, right? Like if I'm the Pharisee, I'm not grabbing some popcorn and sitting down in a comfy chair. Instead, I'm bracing for impact because Jesus is about to take me to school. In fact, that's exactly what Jesus does. Take a look at this with me. Let's read this together. "Tell me, teacher," he said, "two people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii and the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back. So he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more?" Simon replied, "I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven." "You have judged correctly," Jesus said. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, "Do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman, from the time I entered, has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little." Friends, what is Jesus saying? He's saying, hey, Simon, when I came into your home, you didn't wash my feet. You didn't greet me with a kiss. You didn't anoint my head with oil. In other words, you didn't do any of those things. And yet here is this woman, the woman who you call a sinner, and she did all three of those things. She washed my feet. She greeted me with a kiss. She anointed me with oil. And you know what? The reason she did those things was because she understands that she is a sinner. In other words, she understands that she needs to be forgiven. But Simon, you on the other hand, you're so focused on the sins of this woman that you can't even see that you also need to be forgiven